Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Game Talk. My name is Ahmed Mian. Today I'm joined by Connor Haynes, Digital Media Manager of the WVU Game Developers Club,
Hey, guys.
and Michael Dumeyer, member of the WVU GDC.
Hello.
Game Talk is your weekly dose of the best gaming content. It's the best because we're very passionate about it, and we go real in-depth on these topics. Our first topic for today is mobile gaming. So I guess I'll just kick off the discussion with a few statistics. In 2016, mobile gaming made $36.9 billion. Yeah, that's no number to scoff at. That's up 8.5% compared to 2015. And China accounts for 1/4 of all global games revenues. The console market is shrinking while the mobile market is increasing. So there's some kind of, from a console gamer's perspective, some, personally to me, very disturbing trends here, especially considering the nature of most mobile games, which I'm sure we'll get into. What do you guys think of the growth of the mobile game industry?
I think it's a good thing because I don't see the correlation. I don't see.
Really? Okay.
I don't think that mobile is eating console sales. I think a lot of mobile gamers are people that would not be gamers if mobile gaming did not exist.
I see. That's a very interesting way to look at it. And a perspective I didn't actually consider before, because I always looked at mobile gaming as like a quick and easy, they're not real quote-unquote games. They're quick things you play on your phone to pass the time while you're waiting on the bus or something. And I always kind of, I guess, personally took that as an insult to real games. I know I sound very pretentious right now, but...
Right, but, and you're not wrong. Those exist. I mean, those smaller games, but, like...
Right.
I think Pocket Morty's...
Pocket Morty's is, yeah.
Pocket Morty's what I would say is an exception. And there are a couple. Crashlands. And there's a lot of games.
Most recent example being Pokemon Go, obviously. As
right.
like
I
a
wouldn't,
huge...
Well, I wouldn't consider that a game with a lot of depth. I was listing games that I don't think are games people just play on the bus.
I see,
something.
okay.
Like, I think those games have enough depth that they're real games and also mobile games. But you're right. I mean, Pokemon Go could only work on mobile. And I wouldn't say it has any depth at all, but it's not a bad game for that. And
right.
It does some interesting things.
See, I suppose the thing that concerns me most about mobile gaming is that aspiring developers will see the dollar signs and then opt to maybe make a quick buck by creating something with not a lot of content or depth, and driving these people away from creating, lengthy gaming experiences, the likes of which we've, grown up on.
Right, and you're right, and I think that's a real problem. I mean, the free-to-play model, mobile gaming, both of them threaten the status quo that we've come to love. But I think it could be okay. I mean, I have played mobile games that I thought were meaningful in the same way console games were. And it's just...
I don't know if I can agree with you there.
It's fresh. It's something that... I mean, mobile gaming is still fairly new in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And I think it has a lot of time to catch up. I'm not afraid of it, is what I'm saying, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that I am afraid of it. I think it's encroaching in a very sort of sacred space. And I think it's going to bring down traditional game development, and shift the sort of zeitgeist to a more bite-sized, not in-depth, quick experience, which I don't think is healthy for a good gaming environment.
See, I think that I put mobile gaming in like the same category as Flash games, like from 10 years ago,
Okay, yeah.
And I
could see them that way.
I mean, there's a difference, obviously, because
Right.
those Flash games did not make a ton of money, and mobile games do. But
mobile gaming actually overtook PC gaming in 2016 to be the most profitable gaming revenue,
right.
which is pretty. Personally, to me, it's disturbing, but it's pretty amazing. The fact that this rapid transition, as more of us have cell phones.
See, again, you're saying transition though, and I don't think it's a transition from old to new. I think it's just the emergence of something completely new.
Something completely new. I mean, I look at the data, and that's why I say that. I see the console market shrinking. I see the mobile market growing.
But I
You know?
also, I think there needs to be a change in the mobile market.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think,
we can definitely both agree there.
like currently, the same game, you could release on Steam for $10. You'd have to release it for 99 cents, $2, something. The same exact game, but on mobile, it has to
Right.
be cheaper. And I think Pokemon and Nintendo right now,
They could make
they are
they
in an
could make a
amazing position to make a change. Yeah.
premium mobile game. I mean, Super Mario Run
Yeah,
is
Super
already
Mario
doing
Run.
great for them
I would buy a full-priced Pokemon game, I think,
on mobile. I
on
would
mobile.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right? And
but no one has yet no one has done that yet.
right,
And
but
that's what kind of concerns me.
somebody needs to, because I mean, I would like, it's a good platform. I mean, touchscreen games can be good. There's depth to be found there,
Right,
but I don't want to make a game and sell it for 99 cents.
Michael. What are your thoughts on mobile gaming?
It's come it's come a long way so far. Like it started out as like Angry Birds or just mindless fun, and now it's getting into the point where it's on parallel with some lower quality console games.
So you're kind of in line with Connor in thinking that it's sort of a new way to play that's maturing the same way games we knew matured over time. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, I can see that perspective and I respect that perspective. But being a hardcore console gamer, I just look at it and I'm just like, don't stay out of my console space. I see the market shrinking. I see the mobile market growing, and it worries me because I'm afraid that the talent is going to be too preoccupied with making money than to develop something of great consequence.
So how do you feel about games that release on PC and mobile? I mean, I guess that's more relevant to me and Michael as PC gamers, but
But generally, to me, those games seem like, again, like quick cash-ins. I don't think there's much depth to be found. In those sort of games, they just throw their PC version on Steam and release their mobile version on iOS and just rake in cash.
see,
Right?
I'm going to turn the tables on you.
Okay.
Let's look at Don't Starve Mobile. Came out a year later.
I didn't even know that existed.
It does. It's the same game. Don't Starve's an amazing game.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm
yeah.
going to look at Crashlands, released on PC first. And you know why? Why they chose to release on PC first?
Why?
Because they didn't want to be seen as a mobile game.
Right. Okay.
Because people look down on them.
So, do you think? But these games, these renowned indie games releasing on mobile, do you think the quote unquote casual market, the person playing Angry Birds on their phone, are the people buying these games? I
I
Can't-
think there's some overlap.
I don't think there's enough overlap for there to be any market consequence, though. You know what I'm saying? I think that the number of people that invest in games like Don't Starve Mobile or any the games you mentioned aren't enough to justify it being on mobile.
I would disagree, I think. Because I
when
think
porting it to mobile incur some of its own costs and such like that.
sometimes, I mean, Don't Starve, yeah, it definitely had costs, but they definitely, looking at the numbers, they made it back easily.
So I would be interested to see maybe the numbers of Don't Starve on console versus PC versus mobile to see maybe the sort of the market the market share for that product.
I would say with a decent amount of certainty that the iOS probably sold best. I mean, look at Minecraft.
All right.
I'm pretty sure the Android and iOS version of Minecraft has caught up
But
to
there's-
the Java version.
But another thing that bothers me, the Android and iOS versions of that game are severely dumbed down.
They're not anymore. When's the last time you played it?
A few years ago, I would say.
Currently, I know Android version and iOS version are compatible with the Windows 10 edition and the Xbox One edition, I think. They can all play multiplayer together.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, so, I'm going to say you got to take a step back and look at the cutting edge because that's where it's going.
Okay.
And I think real gaming is going to happen on mobile sooner than later.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I wasn't aware of a lot of those games you mentioned, like Minecraft and Don't Starve, being pretty much one-to-one ports of their, more robust versions. So if that's true, and I completely believe that it is, then it does bode well for mobile gaming. It's just that in my experience, I've seen mobile games as, you know, the Angry Birds type or the Flappy Bird type, the quick, you know, just meaningless fun to pass the time.
Right, and it's hard because you can't make the games we used to make on mobile. You can't, like, an action platformer doesn't make sense on
Right.
mobile. An action, a beat 'em up, that kind of stuff, you could maybe get by with a twin stick shooter. But like, I wanna port a platformer I'm working on now, and I've been talking to people, and there are some people that are like, oh yeah, just go with a soft D-pad, and you'll be fine. I've heard other people say go gyro controls, and it's a lot to think about. And then there's also the fact that I would naturally, because of the state of the industry, I would have to release on PC and then later release on that platform to make, so people don't think I'm a mobile game releasing on
Right.
PC.
There's certainly a stigma associated with being a mobile developer.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that stigma, is what I'm
Right.
saying.
I would say that I would agree with it, but you're kind of changing my mind as we're having this discussion. There's definitely a vocal presence that's trying to shift mobile gaming to something that all the gamers from like any cut of the cloth can take seriously, right? So as it approaches AAA quality, as it approaches, games we know, I think that can only benefit the mobile industry because the people that just want to spend time on the bus can do that playing Angry Birds or whatever, but the people that want meaningful experiences on their mobile devices can have that as well.
How do you feel about Fallout Shelter?
I played it for a little bit. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's, and I'm a big fan of, like, the idea of a companion app.
Right.
Like, maybe a smaller game or mini game you can play on the go that's going to affect your bigger game at home. I don't think it's ever been done well. I can't think of a time.
It's been done quite a few times, but never in a way that's grabbed me, I would say.
I do believe there's potential there.
Certainly. That's another
yeah.
kind of untapped potential of mobile gaming.
I think there's a lot of potential space there. It's just something that people really need to think about and not
Right.
just
I suppose I should be more open-minded towards mobile games, especially now that I hear that there's meaningful content to be had there, which I legitimately thought before that it was all sort of these quick games.
What I'm gonna kind of shift gears here if you're all right with that.
Yeah.
So sales on mobile games. You were saying how big is the market?
2016, they made $36.9 billion.
So
And accounted for the majority of game sales.
So you wouldn't happen to have the iOS Android split there, would you?
I would not.
Okay, so it's bad.
I would assume majority on iOS, right?
Yeah. Like from the statistics I've read and the advice I've seen developers giving, Android is an afterthought. It has to be because financially, piracy is so easy on Android for one thing. And then there's also just, I think, the demographic. I think someone who has an iPhone is more likely to buy a game than someone who has an Android phone.
Yeah.
Just in general.
And plus, I don't know, Apple's sort of penetrated the mainstream consciousness in a way that nothing else has, right?
Right.
So from a developer's perspective, when you're looking to maybe port one of your games to mobile, what's the sort of thought process behind that? Would you pick Android, iOS, both?
I would never buy an iPhone, but I would absolutely.
Well, you staunchly hate Apple.
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna port to iOS first.
Right, because
First
it's
and
the
foremost,
smart
'cause
move.
it's where the money is, it's where the market is.
Right.
I'd probably depending on costs, I might, even though I'm an Android fan, I would skip Android if it was gonna cost me much at all, because unless I did really, really well on iOS, and that showed that I had a presence in the mobile market, I would totally skip over Android because I've read stuff as low as 1% of their sales were on Android compared to
No,
iOS.
that sounds completely believable to me.
Yeah, and it's terrible, but that's the way it is. So
Right. Any concluding thoughts, guys?
I think it's also worth noting Mario Run came out on iOS and way before it came out on Android.
Yeah. I
so-
was so mad because I have an
Yeah.
Android phone. And I
same,
couldn't play
but I don't. Now that I've read the numbers, I don't blame them.
Right. Yeah. It was the smart thing to do for sure.
Yeah.
Moving on, our next topic is going to be social media and games. So that's sort of like the share button you find on your PlayStation or Xbox controller, also Switch controller now.
Really?
Twitch, yeah, they have a share button. Twitch integration, Facebook integration, Twitter integration. Um, I know I'm not much of a social media guy, but I can definitely see the importance of it. Having the ability to instantly share something cool with all your friends is pretty crucial to today's like high-speed communicative society. Yeah,
So I'm gonna say, I I don't use social media a ton, but most of the people I'm friends with on Facebook or follow on Twitter, they're all gamers, and I've never seen them use that button. Like I've never seen them.
really.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody share anything from a console game. I've seen like Farmville get shared and stuff, and Facebook games get shared, but I've never seen anybody share a console game. But as a developer, I want people to hit that share button when they're playing my
Of
game
course.
because
It's the best
yeah,
marketing.
it's free.
Yeah.
It's not only free marketing, but it's free marketing of very high quality. Like,
Right.
yeah. So, I don't know. I'd like for it to be more prevalent, but at the same time, it's not something I could ever see myself as an end user utilizing.
So you say that you couldn't see yourself using it. I don't use it too much either. I use it to save screenshots and videos, but not put them online. But just from anecdotal experience, people do use that button. Like there's so many videos, pictures being shared constantly on Twitter, especially after they added Twitter integration. So easy to just post a pic on Twitter, have it tweet for you. Streaming is also a huge deal with Twitch integration. So many people are streaming all the time, and that's obviously the big social media integration.
Right.
That's where the lion's share of effort is being poured into by developers, making sure that Twitch integration works well. Kind of going off of that, Michael, I know you're a big Twitch user. You stream games, correct?
Yes.
So why don't you kind of talk about what streaming is like, and just sort of like how that social media experience adds to the way you play games.
Like Twitch, like streaming is a very interactive experience for the common viewer. Like it's different than like YouTube where you have to wait. The content creator has to edit the video, and he has to read the comments, and they take however long to come in and everything. Twitch, you get feedback immediately. If something's wrong, someone will tell you in chat.
Right. So
And
it's definitely a more like transparent experience, right? It's a more raw experience, I guess, is a way to put it.
yeah. And like Twitch integration, it allows more interactivity with the stream viewer. Like Dominia, its Twitch integration, which it just released recently, I think last week, its Twitch integration is through like it'll pull names from your chat and then name gladiators that as you randomly
Oh, that's
face
really
them.
cool.
That's a really good idea.
And it'll also allow the chat to vote whether someone lives or dies, or give you
That's-
more loot or whatever.
I don't think they should have that much responsibility.
I do. I think that's a really cool thing.
Kind of reminds me of the whole Twitch Plays Pokemon experience.
Oh my gosh, I was so.
I'll
into that.
never forget that
Me
for as
neither.
long as I live.
Yeah, that was one of the coolest things I think the internet's ever done.
Proves that a hive mind can get things done, even if
I wasn't
Half
sure
of
they were
them
gonna
are-
make it.
half of them are vying to burn down everything. But yeah. Sorry, I kind of interrupted.
They're like Cluster Truck. The devs actually put in a command into that game so that if they get onto the stream chat, they can actually access the game and remotely like change something, like make everything blue or make everything go fast or
Oh my
cause
goodness.
lasers to come from
Oh, have you
everywhere.
not seen this?
No, I
Oh,
haven't.
it's unreal.
It's an experience.
Wow. So, I guess in the broadest of ways, Twitch is a way for large groups of people to get in on one gaming experience, right? So you don't necessarily have to buy the game and play it yourself. When you can sort of enjoy it with a bunch of like-minded people, it saves you money and effort to buy and play through the game yourself, where you can just watch a beloved streamer with a bunch of friends, right? So it's a sort of benefit that way. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
And I know Twitch recently they have a buy button now, right? Like you can
I heard about that.
you can see
I don't
somebody
really use
playing.
Twitch too
Do you
much.
know, Michael?
I haven't seen it yet. I don't think they've integrated it yet, but they're starting to integrate like chests and everything. So
Okay, well I know they're talking about making it so that you can buy a game directly from the stream you're watching. And
Wow,
like the
okay.
streamer's going to get a cut because they were doing marketing for the game.
Wow, that's pretty remarkable,
And
actually.
I think that's amazing, and I'm a huge fan of that idea as a developer and as someone who occasionally watches streams.
Right.
Because I don't know about you guys, but I have before watched a streamer, and like I know that the game they say they're playing is not accurate, and they haven't said the title for 20 minutes, and it gets annoying. Michael, what would you say you want? Like, are there any trends right now that you're a big fan of? Like, I mean, obviously it's
In
really
the
cool.
Twitch community.
It's really cool Cluster Truck is having that integration and stuff, but what other things could developers put in their future games to make streaming better?
One of the biggest games for streamers right now in terms of like viewer interaction, a lot of people play Jackbox because
Oh, really?
you can
Oh, wow.
put on a streamer
Okay.
mode and then everyone can just play with you. It allows you to play with your community in a large scale in these quick games rather than have to organize like, oh yeah, we'll all be in the same Discord channel. There's no communication needed. You just need to put in the code and play the game.
Yeah, I've played Jackbox like co-op with friends before, but I never. It's like so obvious to me now that I never even realized that the Twitch integration for that is perfect. You know.
Yeah, that's actually very cool. You have anything else on that note?
No.
All right.
Go in.
Well, that was our Twitch expert, everyone.
So,
Yeah.
I
Go
have-
ahead.
Are we still on social media?
Yeah, for sure.
So, I've been trying to get a foothold on social media as a developer. Follow me at ProudMom Games.
Oh,
by the
there
way.
you go.
So, yeah, nice plug there. I don't know how to do it. It's really hard.
That you just did it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, it's difficult to social media. I don't know what people are looking for really. So, like, do you guys follow any game developers or
No,
anything? You don't follow Nintendo? You don't follow?
I
Oh,
don't.
you don't
I
social
don't
media.
do social media, dude.
How about you, Michael?
I think at one point I followed the developer of Electronic Superjoy.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm the odd one out. I follow a ton of game developers, and I still don't know why I follow them. Like,
I mean,
you
do
know.
they put like updates out like on their game or like we
Occasionally,
just
yeah.
finished X? or
Yeah,
whatever?
like they do that, but they talk about they talk about development a little bit. They communicate to other devs, but like the game pages I tend to not follow, and I know that people do follow them, and I don't know how to get people to follow a game page. So I follow Sonic the Hedgehog, and I think they're
I think you've mentioned that in every episode
Yeah,
we've recorded
well,
so far.
okay.
All right.
So the Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter is a work of genius. Like it calls out
It's high art.
constantly. It's tweeting at other like big industry names and stuff. It's sassy. It's sarcastic, and it's just funny. Like it doesn't. And I've never, ever seen it advertise a Sonic game.
That's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, it's just memery is what it is.
Memery.
It's
Is that a
po-
word?
It posts memes constantly. Yeah, and they're like. It's not like an annoying like your high school teacher puts memes in their slideshow
Right.
type deal. It's like you're setting trends. It's actually funny. You're acknowledging. I mean, they do talk about their games, and they acknowledge that Sonic 06 was a steaming pile, and they
Right.
make fun of it, and they acknowledge like the other Sonic memes like Sanic, and they add and Knuckles to the end of things, and like all that kind of stuff, and that's great. But they have what a million years of brand recognition to do
Right.
all that with. It's tough to get started.
Another thing that just came to mind is using kind of that share button to post pictures and videos is a really great way to spread goodwill of these games to people who might not necessarily be savvy with games, right?
Right.
So, just kind of an example. I know I said I don't do social media, but this is the one exception. I actually posted a picture to Instagram the other day of a picture I took in Horizon Zero Dawn, and it got a lot of likes. But I got the one thing I was looking for was a comment that said, "Where is this?" I was just like, that totally justified why I put that on there, because the game is so photorealistic and so visually striking that a lot of people thought it was a real thing, like a real place.
Wow.
So, I mean, to then tell those people that no, this is a video game, that would totally blow their mind, right? They'd be like, wow, this is incredible. Maybe I'm more interested in this now.
Yeah, I mean, social media is where marketing is going, especially for indies. I mean,
For everything, I think.
Yeah.
Social media is
it's the
taking
best
over the
place
world.
because, I honestly think social media is more effective than a TV commercial at this point. Like,
Who watches TV at this
yeah,
point?
exactly. Like, I would,
You
and
have
I
your
can't,
streaming apps and
I can't click
YouTube.
a link in your commercial. I'm just annoyed that I have to Google it.
Exactly, yeah.
But you tweet at me. On the other hand, I don't think I've ever clicked an actual ad on Twitter.
Right, but just to reiterate, social media is the future of marketing.
Yeah.
More so than anything else. So
And honestly, it's a more enjoyable marketing to me usually.
it's more interactive.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
as a consumer, I try not to be like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I don't like commercials, I guess, and commercialism. And
I don't
stuff.
think anyone likes commercials, but
Well, I know people who like watch Super Bowl commercials and think it's fun.
I think that's the one exception, right?
See-
The whole mystique around the Super Bowl is for the commercials. Everyone's in it for the commercials.
I'm not into that so much, but like I voluntarily follow the Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter, and I'm pretty close to following Wendy's because they're hilarious as well.
Like Wendy's, as in the fast food.
The fast
company.
food restaurant,
Okay.
yeah. Oh no, I'm not kidding. Wendy's does all the same. They took a page out of Sonic's book, and I think it's inspired by it. But
So it's pretty amazing to see how a good social media person can sort of evangelize and spread the goodwill of a company.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And you can totally turn your image around through social media.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, it's become that powerful, which
Mhm.
is scary and awesome at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I used to think like a couple years ago, that people started hiring like social media managers and like
Right.
social
At first,
media
I was just
experts,
like,
and I was
"What
just,
is this?"
Really? You're
Yeah.
gonna hire someone to tweet? And then I saw that like,
The-
these guys are good.
The
at their
impact it
jobs.
has is super tangible. You know.
Yeah, and it just, even though the Sonic Twitter's not like tweeting about Sonic games, it maintains my interest in the brand. Like,
Yeah, certainly because it's Sonic saying those things. You know.
yeah,
So when the next Sonic product does come out, you're more open to the idea of maybe buying it, which is a stretch to say for Sonic. But you know,
Oh no, I'm gonna buy it.
you're a big
I-
Sonic guy.
I've liked the last few games.
Okay.
Like Generations was good. Not the last few. I didn't like Sonic.
Dude.
Boom. Yeah.
Dude, when I was in high school, I think it was either late middle school or high school, and I first got a PS3. I got Sonic 06,
Oh.
and I convinced myself it was the most brilliant game I ever played. I legitimately believed that for the longest time. I was like, this is incredible. I love the story. It's epic. It's great. And then I kind of like snapped out of it. But that's something I'm extremely ashamed of. One of my deepest,
Yeah.
darkest secrets, and now everyone knows.
Yep. It's out there for the world.
Yeah,
No, I don't know. Sonic Generations is really good. I'm hoping they can repeat it.
right. I think the last good Sonic game I played was Sonic Heroes.
Sonic Heroes is
I
pretty good.
enjoyed Sonic Heroes.
You'd probably like Generations.
Yeah. All right. Do you guys have anything else to add to the social media talk?
This is still relevant on Sonic, but I am of the unpopular opinion that Shadow the Hedgehog was actually decent.
Okay. Yeah. That's another thing. I was so into, like, I was really on a big Sonic kick back in the day, and my friend Ranga can attest to this. He's an even more insane person than I am. You know how in Shadow the Hedgehog you like replay the game, but like slightly change one level and you unlock a different ending?
Yeah.
I think my friend Ranga, he unlocked like over 200 of them. So you actually have to be an insane person to do that. But no, I was so into that game when it came out that like legitimately like, my family like went on a trip like out of country or whatever. Shadow the Hedgehog was all I could think about. It's all I wanted to do was play Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
I was a very strange child.
I was really into it too, but I came to Shadow the Hedgehog. I think the last Sonic game I played was Sonic Adventure 2.
That was fantastic. I loved Sonic Adventure 2.
And there's never been another Chow Garden, and that
The Chow Garden was so good.
there's a
yeah.
hole in my heart left by the Chow Garden. But
Alright.
I like Shadow the Hedgehog as well a lot.
All right, everyone, that concludes our Sonic the Hedgehog segment. Okay, all right. Our last topic for today is emulation. I admittedly don't know a lot about emulation. I definitely want to get into sort of the ethics of it, and in what cases it would be okay versus not okay. But I'm going to turn it over to Connor and Michael to sort of talk about how emulation works and why it's such a big deal.
So I want to talk about emulation for a little bit, just kind of tech-wise and the good things it does for a while, and then
Sure.
we'll get into the ethics here in a minute because I have some interesting stuff to say about that.
Okay.
So emulation I think is really cool. I have a lot of games that are on consoles that are not hooked up in my apartment.
Right.
And sometimes it's easier to just put them up on my PC. I can play them in a higher resolution. I can play them, sometimes even a higher frame rate, stuff like that, and like just enjoy the game in a new way. Like
Right.
Wind Waker's my go-to example.
Mm-hmm.
The cel-shaded art style scales up really well.
Of course.
So I wanted to play through Wind Waker again. I tossed it on my PC. It looked like a game that could have come out yesterday. Like,
Yeah.
it looked amazing.
That's awesome.
And I played through it, and it was a good time. I've also had fun. I've replayed a couple Wii games here recently. Dolphin's a really amazing emulator. Also, like, my Dreamcast broke. So if I wanted to play Sonic Adventure again, I still have the game. I still paid for it.
So do you use like a virtual emulator, or did you build like a Raspberry Pi?
No,
or?
I have a... So even then, it's virtual emulation. Like, it's all software side.
Right.
But I'm doing it on my PC.
Okay, I see.
I use Dolphin mostly. And I also have a PlayStation 1 emulator
Gotcha.
that I dabble in.
Yeah, we actually got a viewer request to talk about Emulation Station and RetroPie, which I did a little research on both. It seems like RetroPie, it turns like your Raspberry Pi or PC into a retro gaming machine, and it has like pretty much like it emulates all consoles like around the PS2, GameCube era and back. So like that's a huge catalog of games to choose from, and just sort of getting into where I think emulation is totally justifiable is if it's of an older game you can't buy anymore, you know?
Right, and I'm gonna say I don't want to dive into it too much because it's a deep rabbit hole. I think ethically, buying a used game is equivalent to downloading
Yeah.
a game into an emulator because the developers are not getting money from that used game,
It's certainly, yeah.
and the developers are not
I
getting
agree.
money from you emulating it. So save yourself the money, emulate it.
Right.
That's Connor Haynes said it here. If somebody yells at you, say Connor said do it.
All right. Michael, do you have any experience with emulation?
Yeah, like I've actually looked into the legality of emulation, and there's places that it'll say as long as you own the game, emulation's completely okay. Because, well, what are they going to do? You already paid for the game.
Yeah, I mean you bought the license.
Right.
Yeah. Like I've emulated a couple games just so that I could play them on, or play them because the console that I have them on is broken, or it just doesn't
Right.
work, or I can't hook it up into my TV anymore because components now dead.
It's also it's a great way to preserve older titles that maybe will never get a release again.
Right, they're
Or-
not being printed anymore.
Right. It's a great way to sort of bring those to the present and share them with your friends and kind of shine light on something special that might have been missed by a lot of people.
So, but there's an issue there, right? So, PlayStation has it. I don't know about Xbox. Nintendo has it. They've got their virtual consoles out.
Right.
now. But you want $15
For this
for your
yeah,
25-year-old game?
exactly.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, legally they're in the right.
Of
there,
course,
aren't
yeah,
they?
But
But
it's not a reasonable thing to ask.
yeah,
I
they're
think,
But
especially when emulation is so simple, right? I
Yeah,
feel like
I mean-
anyone could do it.
yeah, I think they would be. Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time with that in my own mind. I guess if I want to play an old Nintendo game, I'm gonna sit there and have a little ethical debate in my head before I emulate it or buy it on the virtual console. Because $15, I mean, I could buy a new game for that. You
You really could, yeah.
Like,
I mean, I certainly see it from their perspective. They're in the right, and plus, there's so many nostalgic gamers out there. They know that's a huge market they could capitalize on, right? So, the smart thing business-wise to do would be to put all of their old games on Virtual Console and charge for them.
right.
But at a certain point, you gotta from the gamer's side, you gotta kind of look at it and be like, I've already bought this game once. Or,
Right, yeah.
If I've already bought this game once, then I'm feel totally justified in not buying it again and playing it on a newer machine, right?
Right.
It's when you get into the games you haven't purchased, then it's kind of questionable, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Like, I mean, if I want to play Earthbound, that's a big one that a
Right,
lot of people
because there was
missed.
no U.S. release, correct?
I think that's Mother 3. There's
Mother
no-
3. Okay, yeah, you're right. You're
Anyway,
actually right.
but yeah, Earthbound came out in the U.S., but not very many people played it. Hence,
Right.
Mother 3 not coming out in the U.S.
Mhm.
But like, am I gonna go buy it on the Virtual Console? I'm like, honestly, am I gonna fire up my Wii U even? Because I don't like doing that much.
Oh gosh, the Wii U. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting debate, and I'm sure if Jordan were here, he'd
Yeah,
be
he'd have some business
staunchly
bombs
against
for
it.
us,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But I think at its core, it's an excellent way to basically remember like fondly play games you remember fondly, and if you've purchased the games before, cool. If you haven't, maybe buy it on Virtual Console. That's kind of where I stand on that.
So, yeah. And let's get back to RetroPie for a second.
Sure.
Those are very cool. I thought it was interesting that they were a requested topic because really RetroPie is just a front end for a bunch of other emulators. It's just like
Okay.
a pretty layout and like almost OS kind of thing.
Where you can select
Your games.
your
Select,
console
yeah,
era
it's
or
just a
whatever.
pretty
Yeah,
way to do
okay.
it. So it's not super. I don't know. It's not anything crazy.
It's
There's
a
not a ton to talk
convenient
about there. It's
tool.
just a cool thing. Yeah.
Okay.
It's something nice to look at. What is interesting that me and Ryan, Ryan Kubik,
Right.
we got really into. People are making handhelds, so they're taking Raspberry Pis,
Right, yeah.
batteries, and they're making handhelds that can play up through the N64 era. And,
That's a huge
there's
deal.
a ton of storage on there. You can download stuff, and I know you can already play Ocarina of Time on your 3DS on the go, but now I could play it on my, I could play the original. I could play Super Mario 60. Well, I guess that one got ported too.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean,
you play all these retro games.
point taken. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really cool thing that you can carry them around in your pocket. And, I think a homemade console is a really cool thing to begin with.
Yeah, I certainly think this summer I'm going to dabble in that. I want to get a Raspberry Pi and maybe upload a Nintendo 64 Virtual Console, maybe Game Boy Virtual Console onto that thing, and just play a bunch of old games because over the years I've either lost or sold a bunch of these old games, and it'd be nice to have them all in one convenient place again.
Yeah. So, so that pretty much covers that, I think. I don't think there's a whole lot more to say about the stations. But I want to get back onto the ethics a little bit.
Sure.
The CEMU, which is a Wii U emulator, they're making $42,000 a month right now on Patreon.
Is this a Patreon? Okay.
Yeah, on Patreon.
That's not okay, I don't think.
And you can almost play Breath of the Wild. It's playable right now. You can play it
Jeez.
on an emulator, which totally opens the game up to piracy.
Yeah.
So ethically, that's bad.
And that, especially a Wii U emulator. I mean, the console.
The Wii had the same problem.
Yeah,
The
I
Wii
mean,
was emulatable.
That's certainly
yeah.
cannibalizing a lot of Nintendo's sales.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, and that's.
I mean, so my,
$42,000
yeah,
a
my
month.
question is, how has Nintendo not shut these people down yet?
Because it's not illegal.
Really?
There's nothing illegal about making an emulator. They're reverse engineering. They're not using any code someone else wrote. They're not doing, there's nothing
Wow.
illegal
Okay.
about what they're doing. That's why they can be so high profile about it. What is illegal is pirating Breath of the Wild and
Right.
playing it.
Right.
But they can't get the CEMU guys.
Wow, that's $42,000 a month.
In less
That's
than a month.
Insanity.
They went from you instantly falling through the ground and not being able to basically play the game, walking underwater and stuff.
Yeah.
It's playable. You can play through the Great Plateau almost entirely right now.
Wow, that's definitely a line too far. That's a line crossed. I think that's a real shame.
But yeah, I mean, it's scary.
It's a group of people totally capitalizing off of someone else's work.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, yeah, they're putting them work themselves, but it's
and they're making money doing it.
Yeah.
If
this was
dirty.
if this was a free endeavor, I could maybe be more okay with it. But the fact that they're making $40,000 a month is just scummy.
Yeah,
in my
I don't know how
opinion.
big the team is, but it's
Jeez.
small enough that $42,000 a month is a good time.
Yeah. Wow.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I want there to be a Wii U emulator. Don't get me wrong.
Maybe in 10 years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
When it's time.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, the Switch is here. It's going to be time in 2 years.
Right.
I'll be okay with
In
it.
the tech world, that's
Yeah.
ages.
But it's not time now. And I think it's interesting. This isn't ethical so much. Xbox and PS2 are still very difficult to emulate, I believe.
PlayStation 2, really?
I think so. PS2's not.
It's PlayStation 3 that's really hard to emulate.
Okay.
Right, because
It's
of
like
their
one of
cell architecture.
And
or
the
whatever.
360 doesn't have one yet. either,
really?
does it?
Okay.
Not.
If-
I mean,
if
there's
it
one in
doesn't,
development. I was reading about it the other
I
day.
assume that's going to happen very quickly.
Okay, yeah, Michael's looking it up. But yeah, I think it's interesting that those. I see. I used to be a big Nintendo fanboy, and
Used to. I'm
yeah,
messing with
yeah.
you.
Anyway, I rationalized to myself like, oh, those don't have emulators because no one cares about them.
Oh.
Nobody
Okay,
cares
yeah.
about like they don't hold any important piece of history in gaming, and that's wrong, right?
That's
like,
objectively
so
wrong. Yeah.
You know, but that's what I thought at the time because like when I was thinking gaming history, I was thinking
Man.
like you got to still be able to play Mega Man, Mega
Us
Man
as
X.
kids, you thought Nintendo was garbage. I loved Shadow the Hedgehog.
I loved Shadow the Hedgehog.
Thank God we turned out the way we did.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we'll move into our concluding segment, which is games we're playing this week. Michael, you want to go first?
So Stellaris just launched their new update, their new expansion.
So for those who don't know, just kind of give them a synopsis.
Yeah, I don't know what Stellaris is.
Stellaris is space, a Paradox 4X, and
Like a strategy game.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's live action. It's like Crusader Kings or Europa Universalis. It's really a standard Paradox strategy game. And they just launched their new Utopia expansion, which allowed me to turn my turtle people into robots.
That's always desirable.
Yeah. And build giant ring worlds and then conquer the universe after the Forgotten Empire or the Fallen
So-
Empire yells at me.
Stellaris. I want to say that I've played it before. No, I played Galactic Civilizations 3. That's a different game. Okay, never
So
mind.
does Stellaris have the modding community that like Crusader Kings has?
Yes.
Because I'm thinking like Crusader Kings had like the Game of Thrones mods and stuff. Do you get a Star Trek mod in this?
I'm not sure. I haven't been checking into mods.
'Cause
So
I
is it
want
like
that.
on a galactic scale or? Like-
It is galactic scale.
Okay.
Okay, so you go from like star to star.
Yeah.
Each star has its own planets, etc.
It has its own it has like 3 phases of the game that just kind of naturally flow into each other. Like you start off like Discovery. You just kind of roam the galaxy, finding new races. There's not a lot of diplomacy at that point. It's just, we're just going to leave you alone and we're going to expand. Then you have your phase where you're just kind of getting everything together. You're organizing stuff. There might be some wars. And then you have all the galaxy is occupied. Now we fight phase.
It sounds a lot like Civilization to me, except on a galactic scale, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
It sounds like my type of game.
And the tech tree is non-linear, so you could randomly. It's all based on chance of whether a certain tech will show up in a
Oh,
given
wow.
tree.
Oh, that's very cool.
I mean,
It's an
you'll
interesting
still get
design
tech.
choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel like that kind of simulates what technological advancement would be like, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you'll still get the tech to show up. It just takes a while, and you get like 3 choices to choose from to research next. And then when you research one tech, you get it again.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
What about you, Connor?
I haven't had a ton of time to game this week, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna fall back on an old favorite of mine.
That's perfectly legal.
Rocket League.
Rocket League.
So,
Okay.
for
So
the- for
for
the
the 3 of you
uninitiated-
out there who don't know what Rocket League is, what is Rocket League?
It's car soccer is what it is. You're controlling these rocket-powered RC cars, and you are knocking a soccer ball around. So they just recently dropped an update that is not soccer. It's a soccer ball, and you're like trying to break the floor. It's like breakout kind of. It's called drop shot, and I don't like it because I'm a classic Rocket League guy. So I've been playing, and Rocket League's just one of those games. Like, I don't know how many hours I have now. It's got to be going towards 200.
I know people that only play Rocket League.
Yeah, it's one of those games because like I'm not gonna say it's easy to get started in Rocket League because it takes a while to stop just hitting
Sucking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It takes a while to be able to hit the ball, frankly,
Yeah.
for some people.
I've been there.
But the skill ceiling is just so high. Like,
It's a very competitive game.
I mean, I think the world champions one year, because there's a pretty big competitive scene. The world champs one year did not make it into the tournament the next year. Like,
Yeah,
that's
wow.
how high the skill ceiling is. Like, they dropped off, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get worse. Everybody else just got so much better in that one year.
Yeah.
And, like, even I'm not good at Rocket League, really. I'm like,
But you don't have to be good
Yeah,
at it. It's
yeah.
so much fun to just grab a group
I have
of
a
friends.
ton of fun, yeah.
Right.
Like, I'm good enough that, yeah, it's not important. I'm good, like, it's just so fun. Like, you don't have to be good at Rocket League to do something amazing in Rocket League and be like, oh my god,
That
I
was
can't
hype.
believe,
Yeah.
like, how did I pull that shot off? That was amazing. And, you know, and
That's when you hit the share button.
right, okay,
All right.
you're right. You know what? If I'm being honest, I might do that. If I had a share button on Steam, I might,
Does the Steam controller not have one?
nah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Behind the times.
So,
All right.
anyway, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It feels good to play it. It's a 5-minute match, so like if I only have 5 minutes, I can play Rocket League, and
Good,
it's
like
fine.
bite-sized fun.
Yeah, it really is.
Developed bite-sized fun, unlike mobile.
Okay.
All right. I'm just kind of
Yeah.
tying it all together, aren't I?
Yeah.
Um,
I love Rocket League, and it's got co-op, which isn't real like couch co-op. Like you can split the screen. Split screen is what I was looking
yes.
for. It's got that, and you can play online with one account, and it's that's something you don't see enough of these days, and it's a good old time.
Yeah, Rocket League's a lot of fun. I can say that from personal experience. So, I vouch your sentiment.
And it's also the developers have been really cool. Like
Oh, Psionic?
yeah,
Is that the-
Psionics.
okay, yeah,
They're
yeah.
pushing out constant updates and new game
Free
modes.
updates.
Yeah,
I might
free
add,
updates.
yeah.
And the DLC is all cosmetic, so it's been very cool.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't had a lot of time to play either this week, so I'm going to go into an old favorite that I played, I want to say a few months ago, and that is Persona 4 Golden on the PlayStation Vita. So for those who don't know, Persona is a Japanese RPG series. It's specifically in Persona 4, you play as this high school student who transferred to this rural school, into this rural community from the city. And half the game is your typical your daily life, going to school, doing after school activities, getting a part-time job. It doesn't sound very exciting, but the other half of the game is fantasy based. So the sort of premise of the game is there's this serial killer in this small town who has the ability to enter televisions, and it turns out beyond the screen of a television is a whole other dimension where monsters reside, and there's these complex areas. So as the player, you find out that you have this ability as well. So your day is spent going to school, being social, making friends, and your evenings are spent entering the world of the TV to hunt down clues regarding like a murder, maybe trying to track down the killer. And the way these two sides of the same coin interact with each other makes this game brilliant, because things you do in the social world like can impact the skills you have in the TV world, and the things you do in the TV world can unlock stuff in the social world. So there's this constant feedback of I do this, I do X, so I unlock Y, which unlocks a better version of X, which allows me to do Z. So the sort of the meshing of those two elements together makes Persona extremely interesting. And beyond just that, it's filled to the brim with wonderful characters. It's just a joy watching them interact. The English dub version is superb. The voice acting is great. And I think it took me 60, 70 hours maybe, my first playthrough. And at the end of it, it really felt like I went on this long journey with friends, Like, I had developed an attachment to each one of those characters because they were so well developed. And it is an absolute joy to play through. I highly recommend it. Have you guys ever heard of or played Persona?
I've heard of Persona, and it interested me because I'm really interested in games that have like really good non-combat systems.
Oh yeah,
'Cause,
you would
like,
be into this.
Yeah, and I think it kind of opened the door for other people to explore that as well. I might be wrong there. But
No, it totally did. So Persona is actually a spin-off of the Japanese series Shin Megami Tensei.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Are you familiar with Shin Megami Tensei?
It's a fighting game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Persona has those non-fighting mechanics, but it takes its fighting mechanics from Shin Megami Tensei. So,
Really? I did not know that.
the fighting's turn-based. It's actually like Pokemon inspired too. You collect different personas, level them up. You can combine them together to make different, more powerful personas. There's so many systems in that game that are just a pleasure to learn. Sorry, I kind of started ranting again, but
No,
yeah,
you're good.
what were you saying?
I didn't have anything else to say. I'm just interested in that sort of thing.
Yeah, Michael, have you ever heard of or played Persona?
I've heard of the recent controversy around the new one that came out.
What's the controversy?
The developer, who develops it? Altus?
Atlas. Yes.
Atlas?
Yeah.
They are disallowing streams or videos after a certain date.
Right.
And they're
okay.
issuing DMCAs and everything.
So-
That's a very I feel like Japanese companies are very stringent on
Are they
that.
fighting spoilers?
That's their whole idea. They're like, you can't stream past this point. But I'm like,
The game was out in
that's
Japan a year ago.
exactly. That's nonsensical.
Yeah,
and like,
everybody knows the spoilers.
yeah, everyone knows the spoilers. Plus, if you want to avoid spoilers, don't Google Persona 5 on streaming sites. You know,
Yeah.
it's pretty absurd what they're doing. But
Yeah, that
I
seems
think
kind
that's
of
a
out of
topic.
touch.
That's
I think
a
they
topic
need
for
to
another
listen
time.
to our social media.
Yeah,
bit.
if you're at Atlas,
Yeah.
you got to listen to the rest of this episode. All right,
Which
guys, I think that's going to do it for this week. I'm Ahmed Mion. Thanks, Connor and Michael, for joining me. See you all next week. Bye.